Hello everyone, this is Mr. Underkoffler, and today we're going to be looking at the guided notes called Intro to Integers. Go ahead and follow along with me as I read this stuff out loud to you. An integer is anything from the following set of numbers. Notice it has 0, it has positive numbers, but it also has the negative counterparts of these positive numbers. It does not have any decimals or fractions, but it will have positives and negatives and 0. All right, from 6th grade math, absolute value. What is it? It is the distance a number is from 0 on the number line. It will basically take the negative sign away from any number that had a negative sign. And so let's go ahead and fill in the blank here. The absolute value of a number is the positive value of that number. The only difference would be the absolute value of 0 would be 0. And I do not have that for you on these guided notes, but not that big of a deal. All right, so for example, these bars here around the 8 is the way that we symbolize the absolute value of 8. So let's do these problems together. What would the absolute value of 8 equal? It would equal positive 8. What would the absolute value of negative 8 equal? It would equal positive 8. This is what absolute value does. It keeps the answer greater than or equal to 0, the positive value of that number. All right, some more vocabulary. Additive inverse, and I guarantee this is vocabulary phrases that you will need to know for the eventual test that we will have in this unit. Additive inverse is more commonly known as the opposite. Go ahead and fill in that blank, please, on your notes. It refers to having the same absolute value but different signs. So, for example, the additive inverse of negative 16 would be positive 16. The additive inverse of 72 would be negative 72. Now, here's something else we need to know. The sum, meaning adding, of those two numbers that happen to be additive inverses of each other will always equal 0. Spoiler alert, in a future page of guided notes coming up very soon, we will talk about why negative 16 plus 16 equals 0. When you have a negative and a positive, you will actually subtract in your head, even though you see a plus sign in between. More on that later on a future packet of guided notes. Now, go ahead and read this information box to yourself. It's going to tell you that textbooks will put a negative number in parentheses if the negative number is to the right of a plus problem, a subtraction problem, a times problem, or a division problem. The only reason textbooks will do this is so that you know that this is indeed a negative 72, not a subtraction symbol followed by 72. So they will put negative numbers if it comes to the right of adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. They'll put those negative numbers in parentheses just so you know that they are actually negative numbers and not subtraction problems. All right, let's talk about some real life vocabulary where negatives and positives are a thing, starting with money and banking. All right, first of all, you're going to notice that the word transaction is being used here. I do not have this defined for you on your page, but a transaction in banking is simply doing something with your money, either putting money into the bank or taking money out of the bank. That is what a transaction is in regards to banking. All right, first vocabulary word we need to understand. A deposit is when you have a transaction where you are putting the money in your bank account. Now let's think about this. What type of number would that be for your bank account if you're putting more money in the bank account? Well, I hope this makes sense. That would be a positive number for your bank account. Now, what about the other type of situation here? A withdrawal is taking money out of your bank account. Now, what's that going to be? Positive or negative for your bank account? Well, if you're taking money out of it, that's going to make it go down, so that is a negative number for your bank account. Balance refers to the money that is available in a checking or savings account after any transactions that you might have done, whether it was deposits or withdrawals, have been done. So it's the money that is remaining. All right, let's also talk about some real life vocabulary with business and finances. So we're still talking money, but more in regards to actual business, like, selling things or providing services for a fee. We're talking about business. All right, revenue and income. These words can actually be interchangeable. They are money earned from normal business operations. For example, money earned from selling items to customers. Money that you earn is a positive for you or for the business. But then there is this thing called expenses. Expenses is money that is spent on things that the business needs to spend money on, whether it's electricity or leasing out the office building or the internet bill or whatever the case may be. Expenses, that takes the money away from the business, so that would be a negative number for the business. And then a word that you should be very aware of in regards to business is the word profit. Profit is an amount of money that you gain when you are paid more for something than it cost you to make the thing or to get the thing or to do whatever we're talking about. Now, you will get profit when you take the revenue and subtract by the expenses. And when you take the revenue and subtract by the expenses, if it is a positive, then that is a gain, and that is what we call profit. Now, I don't have this word listed here, but if you would take revenue minus expenses and you get a negative, then that would be a loss, which I do not have that word here, but it's pretty obvious. A loss of money would be a negative amount of money. But let's fill in the blank here. If a profit is a gain after you take the revenue minus the expenses, then that would be a positive number for your business. I hope you are filling in those blanks on your notes. All right, let's flip to the next page. The directions say write an integer for each situation. Now remember what the word integer means. We had this at the very top of the first page of the guide notes. An integer is basically a whole number or possibly the negative counterpart of a whole number. So you basically have to decide, and I have this for you in the hint, you have to decide if you're going to write a positive number or a negative number, a positive integer or a negative integer. I did number 1 for you, a withdrawal of $126. We just learned that a withdrawal for your bank account is a negative because it's taking the money out, taking it away. So that's why it is a negative $126. You can put the dollar sign on the far left, as we tend to do in America. All right, I would like for you to take what you've learned. Most of these words are going to be referring to the vocabulary from the first page, so please use the first page to assist you. Some of these words are not necessarily vocabulary from the first page, but if you think about it, you'll realize if you're going to keep it positive or if you're going to make it negative. So hit pause on the video, do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 on your own, then hit play when you're ready to see how you did. All right, did you already do 2 through 10? If not, you better hit pause now, because here I go revealing the answers. A deposit is putting money in, so that is a positive number. By the way, deposit almost sounds like positive, except there's this D in the front. So that's a nice little way of remembering this for the future. A loss of $300. I actually talked about this when I was saying it's the opposite of a profit. That would be a negative amount because you've lost the money, negative $300. 10 degrees below zero. If it's below zero, then we are talking about a negative temperature. If it was above zero, then it would be a positive. A gain of 18 yards by your favorite running back or quarterback or whatever would be positive 18 yards because it's a gain. A withdrawal of $52 is taking the money out. That is a negative amount, similar to what we had in problem number 1. Problem number 7, $780 in expenses. Expenses is money that you have to pay for things. So that's the money that is leaving you going to someplace else. So that is a negative amount of money for you. Revenue, however, is money that you are getting in as income, maybe from selling things. So that is a positive amount of money. Income is a word we see using interchangeably with the word revenue. So that is also a positive amount of money. And finally, profit. If you look back on the previous page, profit is what you get when you take revenue minus expenses, but you get a gain, a positive amount of money. So that is positive $35. And that concludes the guided notes on Intro to Integers. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.